The Maud Foster Mill was built in 1819 for the princely sum of £1,826, 10 shillings and sixpence. It took approximately 5 months to build. It was the last mill to be built in Boston out of 15, and it's the only one to survive. It worked continuously from 1819 until 1948, when it fell into disuse because of mechanical problems. But it was restored in 1988 and has been grinding flour in Boston ever since.
Now, it's very easy to make salt dough. All you need is a windmill. Well, you don't necessarily need a windmill. As long as you've got some flour, you need some salt, you need a bowl to mix it in, you also need a mug, water, and you also need flour as well. Now, to start off with, you need flour. Now, I'm sat next to where the flour actually comes into this big sack, but you can use it out of the bag, don't worry. Now listen, all you need is 2 cups of that, level cups or mugs of that. See, there's one. Just pop it in the bowl, and 2. God, I wish I had one of these at home. Oh, this is fantastic flour. 2 of those, and then you also need 1 of salt. Just ordinary salt, that's all you need. So it's 2 to 1. Anyway, so that's 2 to 1. And then all I'm going to do is mix that in like that together. So simple, you don't need anything else. Oh, this feels fantastic. And then all you've got to do is dribble it in some water. Like that, and then just mix it in. Start in the middle and just whisk it round with your fingers like that. Now, it doesn't matter if you wash your hands or not here, but it's a good advice if you do, because nobody's going to be eating this with all that salt in. So that's a bit dry, so I'm just going to add a little bit more water. Keep mixing it in. Now, you want a nice paste here, so it's really kind of easy to use, and it makes it almost like marzipan. Well, this seems like it's going to be perfect. Just mix it in. And now you can see this, I've got this into a nice ball of dough. So I'm going to take away the bowl, and before I put this onto the board, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on there like that, stop it sticking. And then what you've got to do is just knead this, just really knead it. Just putting your hand through it like that, rolling it over. Just keep doing that until it's lovely and smooth. And then what we'll do is put it to one side just to rest. So the salt dough is now nice and rested, so I can make my Harvest Festival loaf. First of all, roll it into a nice fat sausage and divide it into 3. You know, they've been celebrating harvest in every country, and every civilization has got some way of celebrating harvest, haven't they? It could be fish from the sea, etc. This is a wheat harvest. So I've divided that into 3, and I've wrapped the 2/3 into polythene there to stop it getting a skin over the top, so it's nice to work with later on. Now, I've put a little bit of flour onto my work surface there, and I'm going to roll it out. Roll it out, think about making a pizza base. You just roll it nice and flat like that. Then you've got your template, cut that out, and put that over the top of your dough, and then cut that out.
Very clever. Do you know where the word harvest came from?
No, but you're going to tell me, aren't you?
The Anglo-Saxon Harefest, meaning autumn.
Autumn? Oh, fabulous. Now, I've cut that out now, and what I'm going to do is put a rolling pin on and just roll it up.
And there was another festival before that called La Masse, meaning Loaf Mass.
Loaf Mass, so it's Harvest Festival Loaf Mass. Oh, fantastic. Now I've put this onto a baking sheet there, and then I can do the next bit, which is this. Nice long sausage, bit more dough, and then cut that into little chipolatas. And then roll these nice and thin. They almost look like mice's tails, or long, fiddly worms there. And they're going to be the stalks on the Harvest Loaf.
Now the modern Harvest Festival, the one as we know it, started in 1843. With a Cornish vicar called Robert Harker, who invited all of his parishioners round to celebrate and give thanks for the harvest.
Oh, he was nice, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He had a bit of a party, and he did. All that spread from this. Brilliant. Now listen, you see what I'm doing here? I'm sticking the stalks on. First of all, I actually brushed it with some water, and then just put the stalks on, nice and thin, and then just layer them up so you get a nice bunch of stalks there, and just trim it with a knife. Now I'm going to make the Harvest Festival loaf, the heads of the wheat corn there. Ooh. Now roll it out again into a nice big rope sausage there, and divide it into little pieces. Try and get every piece more or less the same size, then that helps the look of the whole thing when you've finished it. Roll it into a bowl first, and then roll it into a nice thin sausage like that. And then take the edge of your hand and just roll down one side to get a nice pointed look.
Now the Americans have a very special Thanksgiving, in fact it's called Thanksgiving, which they celebrate on the 4th Thursday of every November.
Do they? Oh, tell me more about that. I've got an interesting bit coming up here. Look, you can just cut it one side using scissors of the wheat sheaf head there, so you're forming like the little husks. Is that what they're called? Husks?
That's right.
Oh, so I've done one side and now do exactly the same on the other. Even you could do this, couldn't you? Simple, anybody can do it. And then we're going to cut down the centre just like that.
Now, the first Thanksgiving in America was celebrated in 1621.
Was it?
Yep.
Now listen, I'm going to stick those heads on there now, but before you do, just go around with some water again. It's important putting your water on there because otherwise they won't stick together. It'll just all disintegrate once you've actually kind of baked it. So start off with your first one, nice and neat in the middle, and we're going to go all the way around, just making more heads as you go and just adding to the design.
And it was enshrined as a public holiday during the tenure of Abraham Lincoln.
What, Thanksgiving was?
It was.
Oh. I wish I had Thanksgiving in this country as well. It'd be like having 2 Christmases, wouldn't it?
I think you can just about cope with one.
Oh, really? Can you see how this is building up? See, anybody can do this. Or you just automatically come together. All you just got to do is put one next to each other and just go round. Now, you're left with a ball bit in the middle. Do you see that ball bit in the middle there?
I did. What are you getting
now,
at?
let's say you've got a ball bit as well, but you can't cure it this way. Take another one of those wheat sheaf heads there and start in the middle. That's important. And cut one side and then the opposite side and then down the middle. And then guess what you've got to do?
Go on.
Turn it round. Turn it round, yes, and do exactly the same, the opposite way. Then it looks like you've got 2 wheat sheaf heads there stuck together. And then you just gently put that in the middle of the bowl bit there and just gently press it down. And you've finished. Voila! Your wheat sheaf. Fantastic. Now, guess what I'm going to make you?
Go on.
I've got a little bit of dough here. I'm going to make the Harvest Festival mouse that goes on the loaf. First, take a little bit and just roll it into a long, thin strip to be the tail. Make it nice and pointed on the end. A little bit of water on the loaf, and then just twiggle it onto the loaf there, ready to put the body on. Now, that's another ball of dough there, and then just roll down one side so you form like a pear shape, really, a bit of a pear, so it's got a nice big fat bun there at the back. And then what I can do is put some eyes on. Now, to make the eyes, I've just got some cloves there. So just push those in either side. And you can see the mouse is coming together just by doing that. But I'm going to give it some ears. Give it some ears. I'm going to use the scissors there, just like I did with the wheat sheaf heads there. Just cut either side, and you've got the ears to the mouth. Then just stick that onto the bottom there of the wheat sheaf, and you've got the traditional Harvest Festival loaf finished there. Don't know, fantastic?
It does.
Now listen, we're going to bake this. Now, traditionally, salt dough should be baked very slowly in a very low oven or left to dry. But I want it to look like bread. So I'm actually brushing it with some beaten egg here, and then that'll give it a nice shine. So I'm going to pop it into a nice hot oven and then just flash that for about 5 minutes till it's brown, then turn it off and leave it in overnight. So it's been in there about 8 hours now and it's completely dry, but then put it on a wire rack there so it can carries on drying. Any moisture in there will come out, and there you've got one little bit of a decorative wheat sheaf there. You can hang it on your walls or do what you like with it. Now this one's a little bit shiny, Yes, I know I burnt this one, you can see. But give it 3 coats of varnish, but not the back, because if there's any moisture in there you want it to evaporate, and then you've got the perfect decorative wheat sheaf.